Welcome back to the channel of Your Russian Gamer. Today, the gameplay you're going to be watching in the background is a 4v4 league play. Our team was unranked, so it was just like a placement game, so I have no idea what league this is. It's a 4v4 a search and destroy and standoff. And I go to work a little bit. I think I go 12-6 to end the game. And there's a part halfway through where I get the sickest knife I've ever done, at least in league play. But that's not the gameplay. It's there for you in Codcaster mode, so you can watch the people after I've died. And you can also watch the minimap to see the positions, because especially search and destroy, team positioning is really key. So it's there for you. Enjoy that. But what I really wanted to talk about was the past couple of things that have happened to competitive Call of Duty and just Call of Duty in general. For example, the update that came out today, the 23rd of May. But most recently, what's happened to competitive play, especially, is the banning of two weapons, the KAP40. Sorry, I just drank a Coke. KAP40 and the FAL. The FAL actually very recently, I think yesterday, happened. And for me, it's the KAP and the FAL together have mixed reaction for me for why they're banned. Now, the FAL, for instance, it's very, very much overpowered. It's been nerfed to the point where in core, people can't use it the same way pros and league players do. And so, yeah, like, in core, you don't need to do anything with it. They've nerfed it to the point where it's even with the other guns. Problem is, when you're going 4v4 and when you're playing objectively, which people in core actually don't seem to do quite that often. In league play and in competitive, the FAL is still massively overpowered the way it is in core with the attachments and such. Because really in league play, you can't have as much... Well, never mind. I'm going to hold on to that idea. So this gameplay is with the M8A1 because I decided, hey, screw the FAL, let's use the M8. Anyways, so the FAL got banned, and I feel like it's not exactly fair, I guess, but at the same time, it has to be done because in core, the FAL is a pretty even gun. Like, you really can't bitch about getting killed with the FAL anymore because really nobody uses it. At least as much as I play core, the FAL really, nobody uses select fire on that thing anymore, and it's not as used as things like the PW and MSMC, which are still really overused in league play. And so the FAL is banned because you can't nerf the FAL even more, and you can't nerf it separately from core. And what I mean, if it was possible to nerf the FAL even more in league play and keep it the way it is in core, totally go for it, but you can't do that the way the game is built. So I guess it's banned because the gun was just in a different league of its own. I feel like it was, for the way, especially people, for example, like Complexity Clayster, people like them are ridiculous with that gun. And, you know, anyone that plays competitively can be good with the FAL, and so that's the reason I feel like Treyarch has decided to ban that. The KAP40 was basically the only secondary you will ever see in competitive play, and so that's the reason they decided to ban that, because they've done multiple nerfs. They nerfed it today, but the nerf really doesn't count because it was banned a couple of weeks before, actually. So the nerf honestly doesn't count. It only counts for core. And in core, nobody really uses secondaries all that often, unless you're going for your camos for your secondary. I honestly don't see anybody using competitive setups in core. I never see anyone switching perk greeds, like not running hardline and ghost just to have that KAP40, and you're forced to do that in league play because switching guns saves your ass. And so that's why the KAP got banned. And the B23R, the gun that all the competitive players have already switched to, was also nerfed today. And the nerf, it's supposed to decrease the amount of damage for both the KAP and the B23R. And the B23R also got nerfed for Akimbo. So the Akimbo B23R also have reduced accuracy and damage because those things are pretty OP. Before I got into Master League, for leagues like Platinum and Gold, the setup, especially for Hardpoint, that I loved and cherished Oh, and look at that knife. That was awesome. Anyways, the setup that I always used for hardpoint was the MK48 with a dual band and quick draw. And then I used B23R dual wields as like the close range solution. And I went beast with that setup sometimes. Like, it was ridiculous how good that setup sometimes is. And so B23R Kimbo has also got nerfed. I've seen a couple of those, but honestly, not that much. I also, in league play, for instance, the KAP and the FAL have not been banned yet, but I'm expecting that by the beginning of the next season, maybe even by the end of this and the beginning of the next preseason, that would have already changed. So the FAL and the KAP will not be selectable, I guess, anymore by the player when he goes to Meg's class. But right now, to have a legitimate MLG Games Battles match, or have a legitimate MLG Pro Scrims, or have a legit MLG match just in general, you cannot use those weapons, or else it just does not count. Treyarch doesn't want it in the game for competitive players. So I don't know. I'm actually a big supporter of banning the B23R. Why? Because I want to see competitive players use the semi-auto pistols. I would love to see people that have always been using the KAP. Just bringing in a few names, an example: Optic Nade Shot, Freako Parasite, and a Complexity Clayster. Those are the three guys that I watch basically on YouTube because their playstyles are pretty different. I enjoy watching the three of them to get some variety. And all of them use the KAP, except for maybe Clayster, who always puts on either primary weapon. What's the thing called? We get 3 attachments. Primary Warfighter. There you go. Something like that. He doesn't use the KAP as much, but the others, they use the KAP all the time. And I'd love to see those guys pull out the Executioner. That would be amazing. Just or even the TAC-45 and the 5.7. I would love to see competitive players try to use that. Because for the last COD that has forced players to do that was Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1 had the Python, which everyone was using. But as you know, Modern Warfare 3 also had the machine pistols. And those things were even more overpowered than the KAP40, because those things had like massive magazines to go with their cross-map abilities, because really any weapon in Modern Warfare 3 can cross-map. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I feel like the FAL I have mixed feelings about. The other guns, the KAP, and possibly the B23R, I really support banning. Just get rid of that shit, because the KAP40 honestly would sometimes beat primaries at close range. That should never work. A pistol is the same value as a primary weapon, I guess, for your points, but it shouldn't be the same value because it doesn't have the same magazine size, and it should only be used as like a last case scenario. And I hate always snipers that instead of overkilling a sniper actually just use a KAP40 as a primary. And I hate those guys because the KAP40 can usually beat an MSMC close range, and that's annoying. But all you guys that are in core and that use the KAP40, I've never seen anybody use that thing in core. Beware, because that thing, I tried using it today in league play. It's not as good. And look at this. We're up 4-3. We can be up 5-3. It's a 3-on-1. And then we just go on a massive team fail in killing this guy. He has a sniper and I think KAP40. Exactly why the reason I wanted this thing banned instantly and not having to wait until next season. As you can see, we're all just shooting him. Panic Brutal shot him. I shot him. He's still sitting in that exact same corner, and he pulls off a 1v3 clutch to win that round. Should have been 5-3. Turns out being 4-4. But we go clutch for the next 2 rounds, and we end up still winning 6-4. And that's basically its entire gameplay. We had those clutch rounds where we just destroyed the enemy team. We had rounds like this where we just collapsed. There was a round earlier where this guy was also sitting in a corner and he killed me in C4, but it was a different situation. It was a 2v2. The other guy was somewhere near mid-tank, so he was kind of a threat, but in the position where we were a tractor. He couldn't exactly see us. So that's all I really wanted to talk about, technically speaking, but I want you guys to watch the rest of the gameplay, I guess. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the team that I have currently. Me right there watching Panic Anger, and then we have Panic Brutal and Panic C4. You may know those guys. Panic Brutal is actually Super Music Man 73. He has a channel right now. Mr. Super Music Man 73, but he's switched out of that. He doesn't like the name. So he's made your Raging Gamer, I heard, just to fit with your Russian Gamer and your Arab Gamer, who is actually Panic C4 in this game. So that's him. I wasn't recording this game live, so unfortunately I have to go in theater mode. And I can't record it live in Codcaster mode, unfortunately. I'm not a Codcaster, I'm actually a player. So I can't be Codcasting and watching my friends' perspectives. So that's how it works. And then the fourth teammate is actually this game. He was subbing in for the last Panic member, Panic Devil, who's actually a beast. But this guy chases my dog. He was subbing in. He had a pretty good game, I think. He wasn't doing all that bad. And yeah, that's just the enemy team. They weren't a team. They're just a group of 4 guys, and I think 2 of them had mics, but the other one didn't. But our team. We weren't communicating as well because this was one of our first games as like a unit, for one of our first games ever, especially when I'm in Canada, playing as the Panic, at least the 3 of us playing together. And actually, honestly, the Panic, we have not actually gone as 4 of us together before yet ever. So we've always had one guy substituting for a guy who wasn't there. As you can see, there was 6-4 at the end of the game. And you're going to see the squad go 12-6. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later, and goodbye.